Washington, D.C. is not like any other city in the world. In New York, power is measured in stock options. In Los Angeles, it's measured in fame. But in the district, power moves differently. It's measured in access, proximity, and long-term influence. And quick note before we go further, Washington, D.C. was the most voted city in our community poll for the next deep dive. This episode exists because you asked for it. For decades, this city was known as Chocolate City, a place where Black excellence didn't just survive, it governed. But beneath the marble buildings and political headlines, a quieter engine of Black female wealth has been compounding. These women aren't just visible, they're embedded in media, finance, infrastructure, real estate, and policy-adjacent industries. Today, we're breaking down the real hierarchy of Black female power in Washington, D.C. Number 10. Eronica Dew, the government contracting tactician. To understand how money moves in Washington, D.C., you have to understand the GovCon hustle. While the rest of the country looks at the federal government as a slow-moving bureaucracy, savvy entrepreneurs look at it and see the world's largest customer, a customer that spends over $600 billion a year on contracts. At the entry point of our list sits Eronica Dew, a woman who represents the new guard of D.C. wealth. She isn't a celebrity. You won't find her on the cover of Vogue. But in the quiet corridors of procurement offices, her name carries weight. Dew is a former Air Force veteran who transitioned from serving her country to supplying it. She founded BES Solutions, a firm that specializes in the unglamorous but incredibly lucrative world of administrative and facilities support. Here is the secret to DC wealth that Eronica Dew mastered. The government doesn't do things. It pays people to do things. Whether it's IT support, logistics, or staffing, there is a contract for everything. Dew started with nothing but discipline and a laptop. She navigated the labyrinth of the 8A Business Development Program, a federal initiative designed to help minority-owned businesses compete for contracts. Most people get lost in the paperwork. Dew turned the paperwork into a seven-figure revenue stream. Her wealth is built on indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, IDIQ, contracts. In plain English, once you are in the system, the money flows on tap. She represents the tens of thousands of Black women in the DMV, District, Maryland, Virginia, area who have used their security clearances and military backgrounds to build multi-million-dollar family businesses. They live in the sprawling estates of Prince George's County, the wealthiest majority Black county in America, and drive luxury cars paid for by federal efficiency. Eronica Dew is the proof that in DC you don't need to be famous to be rich. You just need to be compliant. She is the master of the niche, proving that the most boring businesses often make the most exciting bank deposits. If you're looking to master your own schedule and plot your path to success like Eronica, checking out a high-performance daily planner can be the first step to organizing your empire. But while Eronica Dew builds wealth through contracts, our next entry builds wealth through the sheer force of history. Number 9. Kamala Harris, the executive powerhouse. It is impossible to talk about Black women in Washington without mentioning the woman who ascended to the second highest office in the land. But strip away the politics for a moment and look strictly at the financials. Kamala Harris represents a specific type of Washington power economy wealth, the public servant plus. Before she was vice president, Kamala Harris was a high-powered attorney in California. She served as district attorney of San Francisco and attorney general of California. These are not just public service roles. They are careers that build massive networks and significant pension assets. But the real leap in her net worth came from the publishing industry. In DC, books are not just literature, they are capital assets. When Harris released her memoir, The Truths We Hold, and her children's book, Superheroes Are Everywhere, she tapped into a lucrative revenue stream that has fueled the fortunes of nearly every major DC figure. Her financial disclosures reveal a portfolio that is conservative, strategic, and heavily anchored in real estate and diversified index funds. Together with her husband, Doug Emhoff, she has held assets in high-value markets like Brentwood, California, and the DC metro area. Her wealth is status wealth. It is the ability to command six-figure speaking fees before taking office, seven-figure book advances, and the kind of lifestyle security that comes from being a historical figure. While her liquid cash might not rival the business tycoons on this list, her access capital is infinite. She lives in the Naval Observatory. She flies on Air Force Two. Her security detail is a small army. In Washington, these perks can function like millions in value, freeing up personal capital to compound quietly in the background. Kamala Harris is the reminder that in this city, political power is the ultimate multiplier. She didn't just climb the ladder, she became the ladder. Number 8. Susan Rice, the corporate and policy heavyweight. Now, we shift from public servant plus to true old money influence. Susan Rice is best known as the former National Security Advisor and Domestic Policy Advisor, the woman in the Situation Room making life or death decisions. But her bank account tells a story of corporate dominance that usually flies under the radar. Susan Rice is not a self-made struggle story. She is the daughter of the elite black establishment. Her father was a governor of the Federal Reserve System. Her mother was an education policy scholar. She was bred for power, but she didn't just rest on her pedigree. Between her stints in the White House, Susan Rice entered the boardroom. And not just any boardrooms, she sat on the board of Netflix during its meteoric rise. This is where the real money in D.C. is made, the revolving door. You serve the country, you gain global expertise, and then you advise the world's largest corporations on how to navigate geopolitical risks. When Rice left the Netflix board to return to the Biden administration, she had to divest her stock options. The payout was staggering. Financial disclosures revealed she held millions in Netflix stock, alongside holdings in other major corporations. Public estimates vary widely, but disclosures suggest she has held multi-million-dollar assets, making her one of the wealthiest people to ever serve in a presidential administration. She and her husband, Ian Cameron, have been reported to live in the Foxhall region, an area where diplomats and spies share fences. Susan Rice represents the technocrat tycoon. She proves that intelligence, when applied to both foreign policy and corporate strategy, is a lethal wealth-building combination. She doesn't just know where the bodies are buried, she knows how to monetize the map. Number 7. Deborah Lee, the corporate titan. If Susan Rice mastered the political revolving door, Deborah Lee mastered the corporate climb. For over 3 decades, she was one of the most powerful women in global media, serving as the chairman and CEO of BET Networks. Deborah Lee is the ultimate entrepreneur. She didn't found BET, Robert and Sheila Johnson did, but she is the one who professionalized it, scaled it, and steered it through the complex corporate machinery of Viacom. Lee started as the network's general counsel in the 1980s. She was the lawyer in the room ensuring the deals were watertight. By the time she took the CEO chair, she was ready to transform the network from a music video channel into a lifestyle brand with original programming like The Game and Being Mary Jane. Her wealth comes from the golden era of executive compensation. We are talking about 7-figure base salaries, massive performance bonuses, and stock options in Viacom that appreciated over decades. But Deborah Lee didn't just retire to a beach. She pivoted into the boardroom aristocracy. Today, she sits on the boards of Marriott International, Burberry, and Procter & Gamble. Let that sink in. She is helping steer the strategy for the world's largest hotel chain, a British luxury fashion house, and a consumer goods giant. Board seats at this level pay hundreds of thousands of dollars annually in cash and stock. She is based in the D.C. metro area and has been known to move in top-tier political and cultural fundraising circles. Deborah Lee represents the power of the C-suite. She proved that a black woman could not only enter the highest levels of corporate America, but could stay there, thrive there, and leave on her own terms with a golden parachute and a Rolodex worth billions. Number 6. Angelique Bruner, the real estate financier. Now, we are going deep. Most people have never heard of Angelique Bruner, and that is exactly how she likes it. She isn't on the red carpets, she is in the data rooms. Angelique Bruner is the founder and president of EB5 Capital. She figured out a way to rebuild Washington, D.C. using other people's money, specifically foreign investors. Here is the play. The EB5 visa program allows wealthy foreign nationals to obtain a U.S. green card if they invest a certain amount of money, usually $800,000 to $1 million, into a project that creates American jobs. Bruner looked at DC's gentrifying neighborhoods, places like Noma and Shaw, and saw opportunity. She set up a firm that acts as the bridge. She takes capital from investors in China, India, Brazil, and Vietnam, and funnels it into massive real estate developments in the district. We are talking about luxury hotels, high-rise apartments, and mixed-use retail centers. Her firm has raised over $800 million in foreign capital and manages a portfolio of assets worth substantially more. While she doesn't own every building outright, her firm collects management fees, syndication fees, and performance carry. This is finance wealth. It is cleaner, quieter, and faster than construction. Bruner is a force of nature. A Brown University and Princeton graduate, she broke into an industry dominated by white men and became the leading voice for the EB-5 program on Capitol Hill. She has testified before Congress, shaping the very laws that govern her industry. She is single-handedly responsible for financing the skylines of emerging DC neighborhoods. Angelique Bruner represents the capital allocator. She proves that you don't have to lay the bricks if you can supply the gold. In a city of talkers, she is the banker. We're building Black status from the ground up to showcase Black wealth, influence, and legacy, stories that mainstream media often overlooks. If you believe this kind of deep dive content deserves more space on YouTube, a super thanks goes a long way in helping us grow. It allows us to dig deeper, research harder, and bring you the stories of excellence that inspire the next generation. Thank you for watching and for your support. Number 5. Michelle Obama, the global brand. When Michelle Obama left the White House in 2017, she didn't just leave as a former First Lady. She left as the most popular woman on the planet. And over the last 7 years, she has converted that popularity into a staggering financial empire. The Obamas entered the White House with a respectable, upper-middle-class net worth. They left it and immediately signed a joint book deal with Penguin Random House reported to be worth $65 million. Michelle's memoir, Becoming, wasn't just a book, it was a cultural event. It sold over 17 million copies worldwide. The accompanying book tour filled NBA arenas. People paid concert ticket prices to hear her speak. But she didn't stop at books. She and Barack founded Higher Ground Productions, signing a massive multi-year deal with Netflix to produce films and documentaries. They signed a deal with Spotify, and later Audible, for podcasts. This is intellectual property wealth. Michelle Obama monetized her life story, her voice, and her taste. In the D.C. area, the Obamas have lived in Kalorama, a highly secured neighborhood known for privacy just down the street from Jeff Bezos. It is a fortress of peace and elegance. They also own an $11 million estate on Martha's Vineyard and a beachfront home in Hawaii. Michelle's wealth is powerful because it is liquid. Unlike business owners who have their money tied up in factories or inventory, Michelle's wealth comes from royalties and contracts. It is cash-heavy and low-risk. She has also launched Pleasant Nutrition, a healthy food and drink company for kids, signaling her move into consumer packaged goods. Michelle Obama proves that modern influence can be converted into long-term financial independence. Number 4. Deryl McKissack, the builder of history. Michelle Obama might write history, but Deryl McKissack builds it, literally. Deryl McKissack is the president and CEO of McKissack, and McKissack, the oldest minority/women-owned professional design and construction firm in the United States. But her story goes back much further than her own life. Deryl is a fifth-generation architect. Her great-great-grandfather was a master builder during slavery. Her grandfather founded the family business in Nashville in 1905. When Deryl came to D.C., she didn't just join the family firm. She started her own offshoot with $1,000 and a business plan. Today, her firm manages over $15 billion in construction projects. Look at the National Mall. Do you see the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial? Deryl McKissack's firm was the architect of record. Do you see the National Museum of African American History and Culture? Her firm managed the construction. The Obama Presidential Center in Chicago? She is building that too. Her wealth is Infrastructure wealth. It is solid, tangible, and monumental. McKissack lives in a stunning penthouse in D.C. and moves in the highest circles of power. But she is also a fierce advocate for Black contractors. She recently launched a nonprofit to help combat the racism that still plagues the construction industry, famously calling out the concrete ceiling that keeps Black firms from getting prime contracts. She is wealthy, yes. But more importantly, she is permanent. Long after the politicians are voted out and the media moguls retire, the buildings Deryl McKissack built will still be standing. She is the physical manifestation of Black permanence in the Capitol. Building a legacy like Deryl's takes focus. Sometimes you need to tune out the noise to build your vision. A pair of premium noise-canceling headphones can help you find that zone of genius. Number 3. Cathy Hughes, the media matriarch. If you turn on the radio in a Black household in D.C., Maryland, or Virginia, you are likely listening to the sound of Cathy Hughes's bank account growing. Cathy Hughes is the founder and chairperson of Urban One, formerly Radio One, the largest African-American-owned and operated broadcast company in the nation. Her story is the stuff of legend. In the late 1970s, she bought a struggling radio station in D.C., WOLAM. She didn't have big investors, she didn't have a safety net. When the bank threatened to foreclose, Cathy Hughes gave up her apartment and slept on the floor of the radio station with her young son, Alfred Liggins. She cooked on a hot plate. She washed up in the station bathroom. She refused to let the dream die. She invented the quiet storm format. She pioneered talk radio that centered Black issues. And slowly, she turned one station into an empire. In 1999, Cathy Hughes became the first African-American woman to chair a publicly traded company on the NASDAQ. Today, Urban One owns over 50 radio stations, the TV One cable network, and a controlling interest in the MGM National Harbor Casino operations through a savvy investment strategy. Her wealth is ecosystem wealth. She controls the news, the music, and the entertainment for Black America. Cathy Hughes is D.C. royalty. The Howard University School of Communications is named after her. She lives in a level of luxury that reflects her journey, from the studio floor to the boardroom of a $500 million empire. She proves that resilience isn't just a buzzword, it's a business strategy. She outworked, outlasted, and outsmarted everyone who bet against her. Number 2. Alma Powell, the quiet power. We often overlook the wealth that is held by the matriarchs, the women who built dynasties alongside their husbands and now stand as the guardians of the legacy. Alma Powell is the widow of General Colin Powell, the former Secretary of State and chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. While Colin Powell was the public face, the Powell family wealth was built on incredible corporate prowess. Colin Powell sat on the boards of Salesforce and other giants. But Alma herself is a force. She comes from a prominent Birmingham family. She is the chair of America's Promise Alliance. But crucially, she has served in leadership and advisory roles across major civic and nonprofit institutions. The Powell family's wealth is widely attributed to books, speaking engagements, and long-term financial management common among top U.S. public figures. Alma Powell represents dynastic wealth. She lives in a massive estate in McLean, Virginia, a D.C. area home associated with high-level civic circles. Her influence is soft but absolute. In D.C. social circles, Alma Powell is the top of the food chain. She represents dignity, history, and the quiet accumulation of assets that allows a family to remain powerful for generations. She is the bridge between the civil rights generation and the modern Black elite. Number 1. Sheila Johnson, the billionaire baroness. And finally, we arrive at the summit. The richest Black woman in the D.C. metropolitan area, and one of the only African-American women in the world to reach billionaire status. Sheila Johnson. Her story is often simplified as the co-founder of BET. And yes, that is where the money started. Along with her ex-husband Robert Johnson, she founded Black Entertainment Television in 1979. They sold it to Viacom in 2001 for $3 billion. When the ink dried, Sheila Johnson walked away with hundreds of millions of dollars. But here is why she is number one. She didn't just sit on the cash, she went out and built a second empire that is arguably more impressive than the first. Sheila Johnson became the queen of hospitality. She founded Salamander Hotels and Resorts. She bought 340 acres of land in Middleburg, Virginia, horse country, the playground of the old white aristocracy like the Kennedys and the Firestones. And right there, in the middle of the Virginia hunt country, she built the Salamander Resort and Spa. It is a stunning 5-star luxury property that looks like a French chateau. It is the only 5-star destination resort founded by an African-American woman. But she didn't stop at hotels. She bought into sports. Sheila Johnson is the only African-American woman to have ownership stakes in 3 professional sports teams: the Washington Wizards, NBA; the Washington Capitals, NHL; the Washington Mystics, WNBA. She is the vice chairman of Monumental Sports and Entertainment, the group that effectively owns the D.C. sports scene. Her wealth is diversified empire wealth. She owns the land, the hotels, and the teams. Sheila Johnson lives on a massive farm in the Plains, Virginia. She is an equestrian, a philanthropist, and a film producer. She produced The Butler. She redefined what black wealth looks like in the capital. It isn't just urban media. It is rural luxury. It is ice hockey. It is equestrian sports. Sheila Johnson took the proceeds from black culture, BET, and used them to conquer spaces where black people were historically excluded. She is the ultimate symbol of DC power, the woman who can buy whatever she wants, whenever she wants, and build a legacy that will last for centuries. Sheila Johnson mastered the art of luxury and relaxation. To bring a touch of that Salamander resort lifestyle into your own home, consider upgrading your morning ritual with a coffee maker. From the contract negotiations of Eronica Dew to the architectural triumphs of Deryl McKissack, and finally to the billion-dollar resort empire of Sheila Johnson, these women have proven one thing: Washington, D.C. is more than just a seat of government. It is a fortress of black female wealth. They didn't just survive the cutthroat politics of the capital, they mastered the economics of it. They turned influence into assets and policy into property. Which of these power players impressed you the most? Was it the resilience of Cathy Hughes sleeping on the station floor, or the audacity of Sheila Johnson building a resort in horse country? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden wealth of the Chocolate City, make sure you like this video and subscribe to Black Status. We are documenting the rise of black wealth across the globe, one city at a time. I'll see you in the next one.